Okay, so Ken Carson interviews are pretty rare, especially these days, and this recent one with Pitchfork revealed a lot of information. Like, it was low-key one of the most informative interviews we've ever gotten, because the dude literally went on tour with Ken Carson and wrote about conversations he had over, these long periods of time. So it's not even a interview per se, it's more so just a recounting of the story of the tour. But there's a lot of quotes Ken Carson gave. There's a lot of great information in general. If you want me to do an overall dissection of the entire article, I will, but for this video I just wanted to go over like the quotes that Ken Carson gave, because there was a lot of interesting conversations to be had, such as stuff about Playboi Carti, stuff about girls, stuff about horror movies, stuff about his aesthetic and religion and school, and basically all the information you could ever want to know about Ken Carson. Before we get into the video though, if you could drop a subscription, drop a like, drop a comment. A lot of my viewers are not subscribed, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of new viewers from this video. I cover Ken Carson, I cover the underground, so if you're into that, drop a subscription, because I'm putting out videos pretty frequently now. Thank you. And yeah, we're obviously gonna get into that whole upside down cross imagery thing. He comments on it, probably one of the most in-depth comments of the whole thing, but we're just gonna go in order. So let's start with the beginning of the article, where he was actually talking about like horror movies and stuff like that. He said, "Ain't nobody scared to know ghosts in 2024, he says, slamming on the remote. Why they keep making them? They need to leave that stuff alone. It's all fake." And so yeah, clearly, as they mentioned later in the article, Ken Carson is a big fan of horror movies. He's a big fan of gore, and so he's very opinionated on these things as well. And he does not like the ghost horror movies because they're not real and nobody believes in them. He likes those realistic horror movies that could like actually happen, I guess. He also said, quote, "On show days, I only have to be performing for 1 hour, so the other 23 hours I be chillin'," he says, as his barber gives him a shape up. So yeah, now we get to know a look into the Ken Carson tour life. Apparently, his shows are only 1 hour, and the rest of the time he's just on the PS5, relaxing. He also said, "What woke me up is Rob Zombie's Halloween." So this was kind of like, is what he's saying woke him up to horror movies. "Do you like John Carpenter's Halloween?" "Hell no. Ain't no female battling Michael Myers," he responds. "Jamie Lee ass would have been died in a Rob Zombie movie." And then the article author, Alphonse Pierre, actually gave a fact check saying, "Laurie, the character played by Jamie Lee Curtis in the original, survives her battle with Michael Myers in Rob Zombie's remake." So he's kind of proving that Ken Carson is a fake fan of the whole Rob Zombie Halloween movie thing. He was also proven to be a fake fan of Green Day. It seems like everything Ken Carson is like a big proponent of is he's like low-key capping, or maybe he just gets a little stressed out during interviews or something like that, which I understand, because like talking on camera and talking to like people and stuff is way different than talking to your friends. It gets kind of stressful, like me talking to the camera right now, I'm getting stressed. Drop a "don't be stressed" sad part in the comments, okay? Then it says, during a commercial break, an MTV VMAs ad mentions a nomination for Playboi Carti, Ken's superstar mentor and label boss at Opium, the enigmatic Atlanta-based clique of rappers and producers. "F**k," yells Ken, punching his fist into his palm, lighting up like a proud little brother at the sight of Carti's name. And I think it's funny that they labeled him as like a proud little brother, because that's really like the energy that's given off. Like some people try to say Carti is like the dad, but no, Carti's like the cool older brother, And Ken was obviously happy to see this nomination, because like it's proof that Carti is kind of going to that mainstream level now, and in this rollout for IM Music or whatever, it's definitely like taken a step up in terms of the NBA teams, the award. Like he literally won like a mainstream music Billboard award and stuff. So like clearly he's leveling up, and Ken is proud of him. Maybe he can follow in his footsteps one day. Then it said, the conversation in the room flows through Ken and is mostly about women. So this was in reference to a conversation with like Gunnar Stahl, I think. I don't quote me on that, I don't remember. Homicide Bino. They were just all talking, and he said, quote, "I haven't been blocked in a while," Ken jokes. And clearly Ken is going through a bit of a female dry streak, as you can see by his leaked Twitter DMs. Like he drops the red heart in the DMs and a lot of girls don't answer. But apparently at this point in time, he was not getting blocked. So he was very happy about that. Then it says, at one point, while Ken holds court, he grabs the 2 bricks of cash and tries to balance them on his shoulder, except he almost drops them, telling Bino, damn, I ain't do it like Carti. And Carti is clearly like the best at holding money on his shoulders. He must be like the goat at it. He's been practicing a lot. There's a lot of pictures of Carti holding money and stuff, so he might be talking about one of those as well. But yeah, Ken is not on Carti's level yet. He needs a couple more M's in the bank before he can really get to the money spread technique. This was the quote that was really interesting. Low-key, one of the focal points of the article in my opinion, because opium's dark aesthetic and upside down crosses and all that kind of references and stuff it's a big deal. A lot of people hate it, a lot of people are neutral to it, a lot of people like it, and he actually gave an answer to the meaning behind it finally. I don't think we've ever gotten this before, honestly. He said, St. Peter felt less worthy than Jesus, and I feel the same way. I'm no God, so why would I come to you as if I am? Then he gets back into character. My job is to piss people off. Then the dude asked, why is that your job? And he said, because people are dumb. Like they never seen a scary movie? And so according to Ken Carson, there's 2 conflicting points here. So at first he was kind of saying that the opium upside down cross is like a religious thing about St. Peter. But then later on in the same sentence, he said that it's kind of a reference to scary movies and just like the aesthetic and the vibe. So I'm not sure which one to believe. And honestly, I would side on the fact that it's just for an image. It's not really any deeper meaning or anything like that. Although a lot of people do like to read deeper into it. I mean, I posted this on Instagram and there was literally a huge thread argument if you want to go read through. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it started with, I'm not going to lie, a St. Peter cross and pentagrams are not the same thing. There's like 30 replies to it with things ranging from talking about Hinduism, talking about pentagram represents the 5 wounds of Christ. Doubt Ken is a Jesus nerd, but that's that. Like there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's an interesting conversation to be had because clearly as these artists get bigger and bigger, it's going to be exposed to more and more people. And I guess depending on your interpretation of that, that could either be really good, really bad, whatever. Let's move on though. The next one was pretty interesting as well. It says, Ken was raised in the Christian church alongside his older sister. Quote, I used to sing in the choir. I'd be in there turnt boy. I did speeches on Christmas, Easter, all that. Damn, imagine going to church and seeing Ken Carson give a speech to the congregation about Christmas and Easter, about Jesus being risen and born. That would be beautiful. I wonder if there's any video footage of that. He probably did his best to make sure no one had it. It would low-key kill the opium aesthetic. He recalls with a big grin on his face. Quote, but with religion, you gotta be holy even when you leave that place. That's why I can't put myself into any specific religion, but I do have a relationship with God. And so, yeah, here we get Ken's stance on religion, or I guess Christianity, or whatever you want to call it, which is kind of the same thing Destroy Lonely said in his interview with Bootleg Kev. And it seems like that's a growing trend in general, to not really tie yourself to a specific religion, but still have a relationship with God. And my cultural prediction for the next decade or 2 is that religion is going to come back, because popularity has been going down, but I don't know, bro. People are just super lost these days. I think it's going to come back, and having a connection with God is important, as Ken says. Going forward, it says, but at the end of the day, it's not all that deep for Ken. Quote, I'm turned. I'm not a fan of emotional stuff. Even with my own stuff, I don't be trying to get into it, he admits. So here he's talking about like the emotional music. Like he doesn't really want to make the emo stuff, even though he has kind of emo songs or sad lyrics and stuff like that. He says that it's not his favorite. He'd rather be turned. Quote, I ain't been through the most, so I can't really relate. When I hear emotional stuff, I'm like, you got me thinking about being broke. I don't want to cry. Damn, you're supposed to be getting rich. So again, he's talking about like the emo stuff is not for him. He doesn't resonate with it. But I feel like a lot of the artists that he's quoted as inspiration do have a lot of emo, sad lyrics, especially Future. Like Future is literally known for being one of the best sad rap lyricists ever. And that's one of Ken's big inspirations, but I guess maybe he just doesn't listen to that part of Future's catalog. I think it is an interesting thing though, because clearly Ken loves to like turn up, and A Great Chaos was no more of the sad stuff. Like on the album before that had like songs like The End, which were obviously a bit sadder, and breakup stuff. But he's saying that he hasn't gone through that much, and I'm guessing he means gone through that much relationship wise or with girls. So maybe he doesn't have that much experience with girls to like draw on upon for the sad stuff. He could also be talking about he hasn't been through the most in terms of like just real life. Like maybe he hasn't had families pass away, or like he hasn't lost anybody in the streets or whatever. I'm not really sure what he's referring to when he says I ain't been through the most, but it could be interpreted a lot of ways. Continues saying, what is this teen drama y'all people watching? Snaps Ken, his pentagram tattoo visitable. It's Friday Night Lights, replies Vision, though it is actually One Tree Hill. So Vision thought it was Friday Night Lights, but the show is actually One Tree Hill, an episode where Gavin DeGraw performs. Then Ken said, I am not watching no teen drama with 6 dudes in the room. Ken reasons, gnawing on some chicken tenders. Quote, I need to watch somebody catch bodies. He snatches up the remote and clicks play on a generic horror flick. I wouldn't even watch no teen drama with my girl. Okay, so I wonder what movie Ken ended up putting on. But basically, there was some type of like, I guess, Disney Channel-esque show or something, like some type of drama. Clearly, Ken calls it a teen drama. It was on in the room with him and all his friends, and he was like, bro, we are not watching this. Like, I need to watch somebody catch bodies. I need to watch some real gore, some real horror stuff. And I mean, I kind of get where he's coming from, but in my opinion, bro, he's just showing out for the camera, bro. He's showing out for Alphonse Pierre, Pitchfork article author, because sometimes there is a time and place, bro. Sometimes it's not always best to watch the gore and people get beheaded in a scary movie. Maybe that's just the energy he needs to channel for his tour, and like he needs to really bring that up to the stage and stuff. But you can't just watch that all day, bro. Like that is not the right frame of mind. Sometimes you just need a nice, beautiful, romantic, funny, chill storyline, okay? So keep that in mind, guys. It continues. Ken Carson gave a quote about Atlanta saying, Atlanta pushes you. You gotta be on your stuff early. You got random dudes in the city who look like the most famous people in the world, and they're junkies, says Ken. He beams when talking about his city, whether the topic is Gucci Mane mixtapes or Atlanta's culture as a whole. Quote, you can't even be the coolest dude in your high school out there. So Ken was not the cool dude in school, apparently. He's saying that, bro, like in Atlanta, everyone's cool. Everyone has something going on, or at least they're dressed like they do, so it's hard to like be fly and stand out. And he's saying that competition is kind of what pushed him to really break out of the box, saying that, oh, you got to be on your stuff early. So like that's why he started rapping and making good connections when he was young. Like I think he met TM88 when he was like in middle school or high school or something like that. Like he was really on it early, trying to figure out what he wanted to do, because he wanted to stand out, and being in an area with so many people who want to stand out, it like makes it harder, okay? I mean, yeah, if you look at it too, there's a lot of rappers from Atlanta, bro. Like pretty much Atlanta's like the hub of rap right now. I mean, you could argue like Atlanta, New York. It used to be Florida, like South Florida, but not really anymore, unfortunately. But clearly Ken is a big fan of the A. I mean, that's where him and Carti are from, Destroy Lonely, his whole team. Continues, sometimes Ken is petulant and bossy. Sometimes Ken dissociates, covering his face with his locks as he endlessly scrolls or stares at graphic, violent internet videos. Quote, parentheses, he has an obsession with gore. Throughout my time there, he can't wait to see Terrifier 3. Sometimes Ken is crudely funny, with hypotheticals for days. Quote, if I was a junkie, I'd be walking around naked going, oh, you weren't worried about me before, now it's your problem too. So here we get a hypothetical situation presented by Ken Carson. And this is something I do with my friends a lot too, bro. Like, just make up scenarios. I want to hear it in his voice though, bro. He's saying that if he was a junkie, he would kind of like cause an issue for everybody else and make a ruckus. Which a lot of homeless, bro. I was in a pizza shop the other day in like a nice part of town, bro. Like, oh my God. It's so, like, it's a beautiful street. It was late. And I'm in this pizza shop waiting for my food, and a fully naked homeless lady walks in, or not even fully naked, but everything's hanging out, bro. And you can see like her nipples, bro. Like she's trying to like, she smells, she's trying to like touch people. Like she's obviously out of her mind. And I guess that was like the embodiment of Ken Carson. Sometimes when I get him alone, I ask him a question he doesn't like and he gets pissy. This part is funny, bro. The dude asked him, how does it sit with you how white the crowds are at some of your shows? Which low-key is a dumb question, bro. Like I feel like this is like a bait question. Like he's trying to get Ken to say something that will like get clicks, but Ken clocked it. He said, why the hell would you ask that? I don't discriminate, he says, sucking his teeth. Why are you even thinking about that? And yeah, bro, this Alphonse Pierre dude has low-key been known to make a couple statements like this. I think he was trying to bring Ken Carson into a circle, see if they could relate on this thing of, oh, white crowds. And clearly Ken Carson does have a lot of white fans. I mean, the Opium fan base is probably 70 to 80% white kids. And clearly that's going to be the case at the shows as well. But Ken Carson doesn't discriminate, bro. He doesn't care. He doesn't have any political, racial takes on it. So that's cool to hear. Then the dude asked, do you ever try to rap about your insecurities? And Ken said, hell no. I think I have no insecurities. And he actually goes back on this statement in a little bit, which is how the article's concluded. But before that, they said, White shows him a TikTok of a kid dressing up as him for Halloween. They even have the same multicolored locks. And then Ken said, what? That's crazy, goes Ken, with a baffled smile on his face. Quote, I try to do outrageous stuff people can't copy and they still do. And I'll try to find the video and put it up now. If I can't though, just imagine someone dressing up as Ken Carson for Halloween, because I'm sure there were a lot. I mean, bro, I went out for Halloween for one night. I literally only one night, and I saw like 3 to 4 Playboi Carti costumes. Probably because it's like such a simple thing. Like, I mean, all they did was wear a backwards jersey, but I'm assuming they were supposed to be Playboi Carti because they look like Playboi Carti fans and they had that Playboi Carti fan vibe to them. But I mean, I saw a bunch of them, so clearly people are dressing up as Ken Carson. I mean, I even saw people dressed up as Summers. Did you see that? Like with the all white fit, like that NBA 2K fit, bro. That stuff was so funny. So yeah, this is the last thing that I mentioned earlier. It says, talking about Ken, the dude goes, he's in a great mood. We get to talking, and unexpectedly he goes, I was insecure in myself early. And I mean, wow, Ken Carson has insecurities? Who would have thought? The dude said, about what? I say, surprised he's bringing that up himself. Here it goes. After all of this, a moment of self-reflection from Ken Carson, one of the faces of Opium and all their baggage, who came of age in the glitzy and uncensored Atlanta rap scene, and is on the way to being the soundtrack of young male rage. Okay, first, let's go over this, bro. He said one of the faces of Opium, and low-key, if you're not counting Carti, because, I mean, Carti isn't even, I don't know if you would count Carti as like a face of Opium. He kind of is Opium. And other than that, that leaves Destroy Lonely, Ken Carson, and Homicide Bino. And so out of those three, like forget the argument I said earlier, out of Ken, Lone, and Homicide Gang, you would definitely say that Ken Carson is the face of Opium. But yeah, the dude continues writing saying, he swings his hair from his eyes like he tends to do. Then, quote, what if my shows weren't lit? And like that's how the article ends. It's low-key a cool and poetic ending. I think one of the main reasons behind this article was just like the real energy and emotion of Ken Carson and his shows. Like he's really trying to assert himself as like a show, like a performer. And I don't think he's all the way there yet in terms of performing and like getting his sets right or whatever, but like he has a clear interest and dedication to it, and I think it'll continue to get better like as he patches up his aesthetic and his imagery. Like, I mean, think of Playboi Carti, Travis Scott. Those are probably the two best performers in hip hop right now, and Ken is kind of following in their footsteps. I can't really think of any other newer underground. I mean, Ken's not underground anymore. He broke through, but like any more of those newer, smaller kind of artists who are really dedicated to performing and like getting that performance craft. So I think it's cool to see him doing that. I think this article in general is really cool. And like I said, this was super long, bro. It took me a while to go through and find all these quotes. There was other interesting information too, but I had to narrow it down because it was literally pages and pages and pages. I mean, if you want me to go over it, let me know in the comments, but if not, I'd just like to say thank you for watching this far. If you're new to the channel, drop a comment and a subscription, and I try to reply in the comments and stuff, so if you say something nice, I'll say something back. Have a great November, have a great rest of your year, and thank you for watching this far. Goodbye, my brethren.